Today, we're ranking every quarterback in descending order from 32 to 1. Just to make sure everyone is aware, here's how I will be evaluating everything. If I needed one quarterback to win me a game today and everything was equal, here's how I would rank them. These rankings were decided based on previous accomplishments, consistency, physical ability, future ceiling, and what my eyes just tell me. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Leave in the comments what you agree or disagree with, and let's get into it. Players not included due to a small sample size will be Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, and Jordan Love. Number 32, Marcus Mariota. The former second overall pick has already been in the league for 7 years, believe it or not. After a breakout year 2 in 2016, he's been a consistent backup or stopgap guy since being replaced by Ryan Tannehill in 2019. He shockingly led the NFL in intended air yards per pass attempt last year, but now finds himself backing up Jalen Hurts at the age of 29. Unless he has a magical Nick Foles type run, it looks like he'll be relegated to backup duties from here on out. Number 31, Baker Mayfield. In 2020, some Browns fans were convinced they had their guy as the Browns went 11-5 and Baker had a really good year. But in 2021, after injuries and interceptions galore, they moved on from him for Deshaun Watson. Baker was traded to Carolina, but didn't even last a full season and finished out 2022 with the Rams. He had that cool comeback on Thursday Night Football, but aside from that, the past 2 years have been ugly and his confidence is shot. He did win a playoff game for Cleveland though, so we'll give him that. He'll have a chance to beat out Kyle Trask at Bucs camp, so we'll see if he gets another shot. Number 30, Sam Darnold. Another top pick in the 2018 draft like Mayfield, who hasn't lived up to expectations so far. After 3 years in New York, Darnold was shipped to Carolina and gave us 3 good games until it all unraveled. In 2022, he missed half the season due to injury, but he did start the final 6 games for the Panthers. And to be honest, he wasn't that bad. He went 4-2 as their starter and now finds himself most likely in a camp battle with Trey Lance on the 49ers and possibly Brock Purdy. For now, he seems like a great backup option for San Francisco. Number 29, Jameis Winston. I've always had a soft spot for Jameis Winston. He might be the most fun quarterback to watch that's not considered good, if that makes sense. The highs with Jameis are great, but the lows are disgustingly low. In 2021, Jameis had the Saints at 5-2 and 14 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions. It looked like he finally figured out a good balance between smart football and taking his shots, but of course at the wrong time he tore his ACL and has not been the same since. Even last year he got injured and never got his starting job back from Andy Dalton. Right now he's just a very high-end backup. Number 28, Taylor Heinicke. Heinicke is a good story, an undrafted quarterback out of Old Dominion, and made it much further than he was supposed to. He gave the eventual Super Bowl champion Buccaneers a tough playoff matchup in 2020 and is the only quarterback not named Pat Mahomes last year to beat Jalen Hurts. Unfortunately though, the arm strength has limitations and he's not very consistent. He's a really good teammate and guys rally around him and he'll give you an amazing outing every few games, but to be great you need to be consistent, and Taylor Heinicke has just not done that. Number 27, Brock Purdy. Another good story. Mr. Irrelevant needed injuries to see the field in 2022, but he made the most of it. He won a playoff game, won against Tom Brady in his first start, and went undefeated in the regular season. In 5 starts, he threw for 13 touchdowns and completed 67% of his passes. The 49ers system and Kyle Shanahan certainly propelled him, but Purdy does deserve credit for stepping up when the Niners needed him most. He did show that in the right system, he's good enough to win with. Number 26, Mac Jones. Mac is an interesting case. Never the most gifted in terms of physical tools and was a victim of the sophomore slump. His play callers last year were awful, but I do think the addition of Bill O'Brien as OC will help him a lot in 2023. But like most guys in this tier, Mac is a system quarterback so far and will perform based on the roster around him. He might win you a playoff game or 2, but I just don't see this guy ever winning a Super Bowl. Number 25, Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy was only one throw away from having a completely different outlook on his career, but for now, he's another system quarterback who performs based on the talent around him. Assuming the Raiders don't draft a quarterback, he'll have Josh McDaniels calling plays and Devontae Adams as his wide receiver 1. Availability is a concern at this point because outside of 2019, he has not been able to last for a full season. Number 24, Jacoby Brissett. Brissett is another game manager type quarterback, but I do still think he's underrated underrated. According to EPA per play and completion percentage over expectation, Brissett outperformed a lot of quarterbacks in 2022 during his 11 games started for the Browns. If you put the right team or coaching around him, he's good enough to not hold you back on offense. And he's had a weird career so far. He started a couple games in 2016 for the Patriots when he was their third string quarterback. He was sent to Indy to take over for Andrew Luck on a fly, and then was asked to hold down the fort for Deshaun Watson while he was suspended. Right now, he's slated to compete with Sam Howell for starting reps in Washington. Number 23, Kenny Pickett. The only first-round quarterback of last year's class had his ups and downs as a rookie, but he did finish the season showing signs of improvement. He had 10 touchdowns overall and 10 turnovers overall, but after his awful 3-interception game on Sunday Night Football, he did cut down on the turnovers. I never loved Pickett because his ceiling is lower than most recent prospects due to his lack of arm strength and physical tools, but there is something about him that I am gravitated towards. He does see the field well, he does throw with anticipation, he does make the throws in tight windows, he does make the nice throws outside the hashes, and just always seems calm and in control. I'm sure the Steelers will put a good roster around him, so they'll have another 4 years to try and make a Super Bowl run while he's on his rookie deal. Number 22, Trey Lance. It's hard to judge Lance based on 4 NFL starts, but he was taken 3rd overall by a smart organization for a reason. When talking about ceiling and physical tools, Lance is up there towards the top, which does make him an intriguing option. And he's a fantastic runner and very physical. 2022 was supposed to be a big year for him, but he did unfortunately snap his ankle in early week 2. But this will be Lance's job to lose in my opinion, and I do think they want to see what he is before giving up on him. Can he morph into a top 10 quarterback one day? I don't see why not. But can he stay on the field? I mean, that's the real question. 22 feels low, but it is necessary based on the small sample size, but I'm still a big Trey Lance believer. Number 21, Ryan Tannehill. It's easy to forget, but Ryan Tannehill was one of the best quarterbacks in football in the second half of 2019 and all of 2020. In 2020, he scored 40 total touchdowns and only 8 turnovers while completing 65% of his passes. He was plopped in a great situation in Tennessee, but now that they're losing pieces, we'll see if Tannehill's a part of their future. I'd say he's a high-end game manager right now, but he could be higher if he gets back to the 2019-2020 version. Number 20, Derek Carr. I'm a known Derek Carr is mid-believer, but he still made the top 20. After playing at a near MVP level in 2015 and 2016, Carr's career has been kind of middling over the past 6 seasons. Carr is another guy who is good enough to win with in the right circumstances, but he's not going to win a Super Bowl in my opinion. I do enjoy a nice Derek Carr deep ball, but after years of showing who he is, it's hard to place him any higher. Number 19, Daniel Jones. Talk about a polarizing quarterback. Jones took a step forward the past 3 years in protecting the ball, but with that came less aggressiveness and simplified passing concepts. Jones ranked dead last out of 40 qualified quarterbacks in ADOT last year, and PFF only credited him with 6 big-time throws, which was tied with PJ Walker, Sam Darnold, and Jameis Winston, 3 guys who did not play much last year. He's a very good game manager at this point, and he has had some amazing games versus bottom-tier defenses in his career, but we'll see how much the addition of new weapons will help his growth. Last year, he was efficient in an excellent system with lackluster talent, but it's still not enough for me to think he's better than the remaining guys on this list. Number 18, Geno Smith. Remember when Russell Wilson was traded and everyone thought the Seahawks would be like a 3 or 4 win team with Drew Lock at quarterback? Good times. Not only did Geno lead the league in completion percentage last year, but he also threw for nearly 4,300 yards and had 31 total touchdowns and almost rushed for 400 yards. It seems like all he needed was a chance and a team to believe in him after all these years. He can make the big throws, he can use his legs, but he does make the bad decisions from time to time. According to PFF, Geno was 2nd in the NFL last year in big-time throws, which only trailed Josh Allen. Number 17, Jared Goff. We know about Goff's success with Sean McVay going to the Super Bowl, but even with the Lions the past 2 years, he's been successful. Last year, Goff threw for over 4,400 yards and 29 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions. I think he's proved by now that he's a pretty good quarterback, but he does have a limit for how good he can be. His athleticism and arm talent are nothing special, but he does everything else at a pretty good level. Number 16, Matthew Stafford. About 14 months ago, Stafford won a Super Bowl, and now it feels like he's being written off. I've always been a big Stafford fan. He has a cannon for an arm, he can throw at any arm angle, and has to be one of the toughest players in the sport. The only reason he's at 16 now is because he's 35, and I'm worried about his injury history, especially especially with his back. But when healthy, Stafford's probably still a top 12 or so quarterback. Number 15, Kirk Cousins. Kirk is the model of consistency and has basically been the same exact quarterback since 2015. From 2015 to 2022, he's averaged 4,500 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions per season. Just those numbers alone are very good, especially when that's your average over the past 8 years. The problem, of course, is his inability to win big games, and that should definitely be held against him at some point. He's still a very solid quarterback and should be recognized as top half in the league, but it's probably not getting much better. Number 14, Kyler Murray. At this point, Kyler Murray might be the most disrespected player in the league, but what Murray has done over his first 4 seasons should not be overlooked. If there was a first half MVP in the NFL, Murray probably would have won it during the 2020 and 21 season. Despite not so good coaching, Kyler has produced over 4,100 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions on average over his first 4 years, and not to mention his elite rushing ability. Hopefully he doesn't lose any agility coming off the ACL surgery. That's my main concern. Number 13, Russell Wilson. A decade Hall of Fame resume is hard to ruin in one season, but Russell Wilson tried his best last year. We'll see how much of his 2022 struggles were coaching and how much of it was Wilson himself. Even if he was injured last year, which I do think he was, he set career lows in numerous areas. Even with all of the dysfunction there, Russ did display some of his elite play from time to time, so at least you know it's still in him. I think he'll bounce back this year with Sean Payton, but if not, then yikes. Number 12, Tua Tagovailoa. Injuries aside, Tua had a breakout season in year 3. With help from additions of Tyreek Hill and especially Mike McDaniel, Tua was able to bring his game to another level. He led the league in touchdown percentage last year, yards per attempt, and passer rating. Although he played in 13 games, not including the playoff game he missed, the question of course will be his health. But Tua has done enough to be in the top 10 conversation at this point. Number 11, Dak Prescott. Yet another polarizing quarterback in the NFC East. His shortcomings in the playoffs and general hatred of the Dallas Cowboys may play into the narratives, but people forget what this guy has done over 7 seasons. Even in 2021, he had 37 touchdowns to only 10 interceptions while nearly throwing for 4,500 yards. His numbers certainly dipped last year, but a 7-year sample size of being an average and sometimes very good quarterback is enough for me. He's won 2 playoff games, but now needs to take that next step and make a real run at the Super Bowl in order to gain respect from his doubters. Number 10, Justin Fields. This may be controversial, but I do like Justin Fields a lot. There are plenty of people out there that think Justin Fields stinks, and you know what? I was in that same boat up until halfway through last season. Once Chicago altered their offense and made it more tailored towards Fields' skill set, he turned into a completely different quarterback. He did have over 1,100 rushing yards and led the NFL in yards per carry last season, but nobody likes mentioning that. And ever since the Week 7 game at New England, which is where the offense shifted, Fields finished the year completing 63% of his passes with 13 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions and a 92 quarterback rating. With numbers like that, he's essentially Kyler Murray with an extra 500 rushing yards or so. And with the additions the Bears made this offseason, I expect Fields to make a big leap in 2023. Number 9, Deshaun Watson. Watson is another tough one to rank. He hasn't been truly elite since 2020, but still at 27 years old, I think it's unfair to totally judge him based on 6 games last year after missing a season and a half of football. Just 2 seasons ago, he had over 4,800 pass yards, 33 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions, and somehow only won 4 games that year. The Browns still have Stefanski and good enough weapons, so I do think Watson returns to his top 10 status next year, and reports have said he's working extremely hard to train this offseason and get back to where he was, and assuming he stays out of legal trouble, I would not bet against him. Number 8, Aaron Rodgers. A-Rod won back-to-back MVPs pretty recently, but 2022 may have been the worst year of his career. With rookie receivers and veterans out of their prime, it was tough for Rodgers and that Green Bay offense. I don't think Rodgers has really fallen off that much yet, but at the age of 39, that decline is coming soon. Can he put up a great season with Garrett Wilson and the rest of the Jets' weapons? I don't see why not. He's still top 10 for now, but for how much longer is the real question. But if he wins the Jets a Super Bowl, he'll be cherished in New York forever. Number 7, Lamar Jackson. And another Another polarizing player. Contract stuff aside, Lamar is no doubt a top 10 quarterback in football. Lamar has a 45-16 regular season record and only one playoff win to show for in 5 years. His last 2 seasons were cut short due to injury, but I don't consider him injury prone at this point. From where he was in 2018 to now, you can see he's improved so much as a passer, and the running ability is top tier when it comes to quarterbacks, obviously. Unfortunately, in this ring culture, Lamar will probably never get the respect he truly deserves unless he wins a title, but I don't make the rules. Number 6, Jalen Hurts. Hurts silenced a lot of critics this year with a near MVP season in 2022. Does he benefit from a top-tier offensive line and good receivers? Of course he does. But like Lamar in a way, not enough credit is given to Hurts for his individual improvements. He's a much better pocket passer, way more accurate, and has better decision making since entering the NFL in 2020. He'll never have the elite arm strength or the 6'4", 6'5" height that you desire from a quarterback, but he's on the cusp of being elite. After a 35 touchdown season with only 8 turnovers and going toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, he's definitely on the right track. Number 5, Trevor Lawrence. I guess Urban Meyer was just that bad, huh? 2021's first overall pick was declared a generational talent by many, but did not get off to a great start. But in year 2, Lawrence put up 25 touchdowns through the air and only 8 interceptions. And to top that off, came back from 27 points down in the wild card round to beat the Chargers. This guy can make any throw from any platform, he can depend on his legs when needed, and he can throw the ball a mile. Is it too early to rank him number 5? I mean, maybe, but I have a feeling he'll keep getting better. Assuming the Jaguars keep a good structure around him, Lawrence is going to have a fantastic career. Number 4, Justin Herbert. The good news, Herbert made the playoffs. The bad news, he blew a 27-point lead. And no, it was not all on him, obviously. Herbert did take a step back in terms of statistics last year, but in fairness, he only had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams together for basically 6 regular season games. There isn't a throw that Herbert can't make. He throws one of the prettiest balls in the sport, and I can't get over that throw he made up the seam after breaking his ribs on Thursday Night Football. Entering year 4, he'll now need to do more than just make the playoffs, even in the stacked AFC West. He's as talented as it gets, but team success is the only thing missing so far. Number 3, Joe Burrow. Remember when the Bengals went 2-14, drafted Joe Burrow, and were in the Super Bowl 2 years later? It was evident right away that Burrow was going to be good, but after his ACL injury in his rookie season, he's combined for 69 touchdowns and only 26 interceptions the past 2 years. And on top of that, he's gone 5-2 in the playoffs in his young career. Physically, he's not as gifted as Mahomes or Allen or Herbert or Lawrence, but he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks and one of the smartest at the line of scrimmage. And the guy obviously has no fear and has maybe the most swagger of any quarterback out there right now. He certainly has that it factor, whatever that means. It seems like as long as he's there, the Bengals will always be in Super Bowl contention. They just have to keep him upright. Number 2, Josh Allen. Talk about a guy who was built in a lab. At 6'5", 237, there may not be a more physically imposing and gifted quarterback as Josh Allen. He has the strongest arm in the league, he can truck or jump over defenders, and he's the type of quarterback that always makes something out of nothing. If it weren't for Patrick Mahomes, the guy may have had 2 Super Bowls by now, which is crazy to think. Despite having at least 40 touchdowns in each of his past 3 seasons, I still don't think Allen was totally healthy last season since he injured his elbow versus the Jets. But just like Burrow and the Bengals, as long as the Bills have Josh Allen, they'll be in Super Bowl contention. I know the Bills are a pretty unlucky franchise for the most part, but you'd have to think Josh Allen gets a ring at some point. Number 1, Anthony Richardson. Oh no, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, what else can you say at this point? Ever since week 1 of 2018, we knew this guy was going to be a problem, but he's reached new heights that many didn't think were possible. Since being the starter, the Chiefs have made it at least to the AFC Championship at minimum in every season since Mahomes has been there. And you thought Tyreek Hill leaving was going to stop him from winning a Super Bowl? Wrong. He's changed the game for the better. He's kind of like the Steph Curry of football, if that makes sense. Only question remaining is, can he catch Tom Brady's 7 rings? He has 2 now, and Brady did not win his 4th until 37 years old. Mahomes is 27 right now, so he has time. And he has the right head coach and the organization to do it with. That's the end of my list from 32 to 1. If you stuck around, I appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys next time.